It's 5:46. Now, how many of you have been on holiday to Dubai? I've been to Dubai a few times. My sister-in-law lives there, so I go to visit family. Well, did you know that carrying cannabis oil, also known as CBD, could see you facing a jail sentence in some countries? This is despite the fact that the product is legal here in the UK and actually many other countries around the world. 25-year-old football coach Billy Hood, who's from London, is facing a 10-year prison sentence after police found cannabis oil in his car. He was originally jailed for 25 years, but he's had his sentence reduced by an Abu Dhabi court yesterday. Let's speak to Radha Stirling for the latest on the case. She's the founder of the campaign group Detained in Dubai. Good afternoon, Radha.
Good afternoon.
Significant changes to the UAE's drug laws are expected to come into force in January, aren't they? What could that mean for Billy? Is that positive or negative?
Well, we would hope that the UAE, having made these changes, would apply it specifically to Billy Hood's case, which has attracted so much attention and support. However, there's no obligation for them to apply these laws retroactively. If they did, it would allow him to be deported back to the UK rather than serve this 10-year sentence.
Could they could be applied retrospectively, but how hopeful are you that that's going to be the case? Is there any indication from anyone there in the UAE that might be the case?
No, absolutely not. And in the past, they have implemented bankruptcy laws and various other sort of changes to their legal system.
So it has been done previous?
Yes, previously they've implemented new laws, but they have not been applied retroactively. We're going to hope on this occasion that that the British government can diplomatically intervene and make a special request for Billy.
Do you plan to launch another appeal if that might be the case?
We're already launching another appeal. We have an option through the Supreme Court to appeal this 10-year sentence, which we think is absolutely absurd, given that they have agreed that he, without knowledge, possessed the CBD. So it wasn't even his intention, and they know that. So 10 years for, possessing CBD oil, 2 small bottles without even knowing it, and getting a 10-year sentence is absurd.
I guess you have to respect the rules of the country that you're in, right? And if he's broken the law, then that is the case. He has to serve the time, no?
Well, certainly. However, in this particular case, they have convicted him based on a forced confession. And this has been an ongoing issue in the UAE where people are forced to confess to a crime or there is insufficient evidence that we would consider, in the UK system, evidence to prosecute someone. But they're able to get that prosecution through in the UAE. And that really is the core issue in the UAE, is these forced confessions, a lack of evidence, and yet they're still able to secure a conviction based on a 15-minute trial. So he hasn't even had the opportunity to prove his evidence, prove his innocence through the legal process there.
How aware are Britons around the legality of CBD around the world? Does there need to be more education in terms of what can be brought into countries and what can't?
I mean, yes, absolutely there needs to be more education, and the Foreign Office is lacking in warnings for British citizens, but I don't think so much in the area of what is contraband. I think it's more in the area of what can happen in the judicial system over there, what can happen when you're arrested, and when you can be convicted on a forced confession or an allegation from someone else without serious evidence to that effect. So that's more the warning. And I think that, in this case, and in the case of Andy Neil and many British nationals before him, they haven't actually committed any crime. They haven't been arrested because of their lack of knowledge of the legal and illegal substances in the country. They've been arrested because of a failure in judicial process in the country.
Do you think that maybe with Billy's case that potentially he's being made an example of?
I don't think that Billy has been made an example of. I think that this is something that we're seeing over and over again, where the Dubai police are incentivized financially and for other, reasons that they get promotions and everything else. They are incentivized to charge people with crimes that they haven't committed, and they leave that up to the prosecution. The prosecution then wants to hand it over to the courts. They want to pass the buck, essentially, and push it up the chain until eventually that person is exonerated, but only after, like we saw in the case of Andy Neal, where they've been detained for more than a year and they're finally exonerated and allowed to go home. So it really is an abusive process that we're looking at.
Okay, well, this is definitely a story, like I say, Radha, that I think here on BBC Radio London we will be tracking significantly. So thank you to Radha Stirling there from Detained in Dubai. An FCDO spokesperson has said we are giving consular support to a British man who has been imprisoned in the UAE. We are in contact with his family in the UK. And, of course, we did speak to Billy Hood's mother earlier, who... she's devastated. She's trying really hard to fight this and to get the right type of assistance and help for her son, who she believes should be freed immediately. Like I say, we'll keep you right across it here on BBC Radio London.